Anything they can do to deny Usain Bolt yet another golden moment in this stadium that he's already made so famous. Even in the commentary box, our pulses are racing. Incredible tension here in the stadium. This is the arena where history is made. Great start there from Nesta Carter. What will Asafa Powell do on the second leg? Gatlin's got a lead. Asafa Powell needs to close this down. The Americans are ahead towards the halfway stage. Clean changeovers for both. This is going to be tight. The Americans are up front. Usain Bolt needs to produce the magic. USA, Usain Bolt. Oh, and there's a baton nightmare there for the Americans. Cometh the hour, cometh the man. Bolt for Jamaica, USA the silver, and amazingly, the Chinese have taken the bronze medal. It all went wrong for the Americans on the last changeover. It was fantastic down the back straight. Justin Gatlin pulled away from Asafa Powell, but on the anchor leg, Mike Rogers had a nightmare. Jamaica 37.36, the United States 37.77, and China, as I thought, came home for the bronze medal. Wow, if the atmosphere before this race was exciting, it's absolutely electrified now. The Jamaicans were not to be denied, but Rogers will have nightmares about that changeover.
Wow, the final that had everything, the fastest men, some good changes, some bad changes. Great Britain and Northern Ireland didn't finish. What an absolute mixture and melting pot of sprinting and relay magic and disaster. The last leg, Steve Ovett. Mike Rogers, you said, Rob, he looked nervous on that final leg before they were lining up. He's on the big screen.
He just tensed up. You've got to feel sorry for him. The pressure was just too much.
That was their opportunity to put Bolt under pressure. That was their opportunity to win the title for the first time since 2007. Bolt would have had an awful lot to do on that anchor leg, but in the end, they handed it to the Jamaicans on a plate with that disastrous changeover from 3 to 4.
That's what it's about. That's what it's all about, isn't it?
That's exactly right. It is. It's under pressure. You've got to perform. This man does exactly that. Great performance from the Chinese team, though. Marvellous to see them come through for that bronze medal. They just can't believe it. Well, as I said, that last changeover, well, you've got to feel sorry for Mike Rogers. He just didn't handle the pressure well. Tyson Gay come into him, and it was all over the place, really. They lost, what, 5 or 6 metres maybe in that one mix-up.
Gatlin ran really well on the back straight, and bearing in mind how dominant Asafa Powell was in the semi-final, that was a great leg from the American silver medalist in the 100 metres. The platform was there, Rogers froze and couldn't finish, and we should say a huge congratulations to the Chinese. Needed an Asian record to get into the final. These 4 guys will be the poster boys of China at the end of this championship. That was a magnificent performance from them, especially to deny such a talented quartet from Canada.
Well, the crowd have had an absolute treat, haven't they? They're all singing, the flags are out, but the Jamaicans, they came and delivered. Some couldn't have scripted it better. A goal for the big man, a 3rd gold in this championships, and a 4x1 medal for China. Look at the atmosphere around and how much it means to those guys.
They've done it again, but how much closer would it have been if Mike Rogers had got the baton? Even on an average changeover, Bolt would have had a lot to do there, but as you say, Catherine, you've experienced sprint relays. The baton exchanging is a huge part of the story and a huge part of the journey, and they will know they've missed an opportunity tonight.
It's not always the four fastest guys that win. I alluded back to the Athens 2004 Olympics when Great Britain and Northern Ireland pipped the Americans for 4x1 relay gold. Nowhere near as fast as them individually. But that's what happens. You'd have to talk to Mike Rogers about running against the big man. It must do things to you that you don't want to happen, and that relay changeover, oh gosh.
Well, could you imagine, Catherine, if you're in the relay team and you think, well, am I going to get that last leg against Usain Bolt? You think, that's the short straw, isn't it?
It brings its own form of pressure, doesn't it? Well, but it's good to see the Americans smiling. They know the mistakes were made, but it's another medal for Justin Gatlin and another one for the USA in 4x100 metre relay running.
And if we look at the medal table now, coming into that, both Jamaica and USA had 5 gold. Jamaica ahead now.
And talking about the gold medal tally, let's just remind ourselves, Usain Bolt has secured treble gold now at 5 major championships. 3 golds in Beijing in 2008, in Berlin in 2009, in London in 2012, in Moscow in 2013, and here once again in Beijing. The only place he hasn't done it, he picked up a mere 2 golds after the false start in the 100 metres. 17 major global titles. Catherine, take us through these exchanges and these moments.
Look at Justin Gatlin. It was a high hand and a good take by Tyson Gay. Asafa Powell had run a good run down the back straight, to be fair, for Jamaica. But look at Tyson Gay on the left shouting, hand, hand, put your arm up.
Now, breaking news here. We are just hearing that the American quartet may well have been disqualified. That puts China up to second. Canada get the bronze. And you would think it must have something to do with Mike Rogers being out of the changeover position on that anchor leg. I'm not sure they realise yet, because you can just see them there alongside the Jamaicans who are still celebrating. They're still waving the flags, and I don't think the American quartet realise yet. It hasn't been put up on the big screen in the stadium, and of course that's going to promote the Chinese from bronze to silver. The Canadians realise they are now the World Championship bronze medalists, just as they were 2 years ago in Moscow. Let's take a closer inspection here, Catherine, and see if we can confirm where the infringement came. It must have been the last leg into Rogers, surely.
We have to get the baton between the check marks and the guys below us now, the USA team. The news is coming through to them. I'm looking at Mike Rogers' feet, I'm looking at his feet. Keep an eye on that solid line there. He's out. It looks like he's over the end of the box in terms of that changeover zone. For our listeners and viewers, code 170.7 is the reason that they've been disqualified. I'm sure we have viewers around the world will know what that means. But that's the reasoning why they've been DQ'd on our system. And they're literally about 30 or 40 metres below us. There they are. Look at Mike Rogers' face. Oh, gosh. He quite shyly and little embarrassingly scrumples back up the stars and stripes of the USA flag. But the Canadians, as you say, Rob, upgraded to bronze at this moment in time with 38.13 seconds. China in the silver with 38.01. And I'm sure there potentially may be a protest by the USA team if they decide to pay the money to have one. But they may look at the evidence and have it confirmed and just accept it's just gone.
That's a nightmare for Rogers. It's one thing to potentially cost them a gold or the chance of a gold, quite another to deny the whole quartet a moment on the podium and a World Championship silver medal. That is a disastrous end. He's a great sprinter. He's been a brilliant ambassador for American 100 metre running, but that's a nightmare. Catherine, bottom left.
Bottom left, check the yellow line that goes across the lane. The baton has to be in Mike Rogers' hand before he exits that zone. They might protest this, you know, because technically the baton's passed over from Tyson Gay to Mike Rogers. But does Gay drop back? He looks about a metre out of the box at least for me. And I said earlier on our TV commentary, didn't I, guys, that it's the incoming runner's responsibility to hand the baton over. It is, but if the outgoing runner goes off too early because he's nervous, excited, or goes out too quickly, then it's not his fault at all if Tyson Gay couldn't catch him.
No, he's got that well outside the box, no question about it. I think he got so carried away with trying to get a good start because Bolt was there. He just went up too fast. Tyson couldn't catch him.
It happens. That's why Tyson Gay was shouting. When the race was run, I thought Tyson Gay's running a little bit further down the track than he normally does. I know why now, because he couldn't catch him. Oh, gosh. An absolute disaster for the USA. Their championship started badly, didn't it? On the 6th day, they only had one gold medal with Joe Kovacs. It's picked up slightly, of course, but now on the penultimate day of this evening session, they're 4x1 relay men who had won 7 titles in the past.
Sorry, Catherine, just to bring you back there, that's the mistake of the British team on the outside of them as well. They were out of the box just as well as the Americans on that changeover.
Well, as Peter Matthews mentioned, they brought in CJ Uja onto the last leg. Maybe a bit of nerves from the young Briton has caused them to be disqualified as well, but rules them rules.
Yeah, and he hasn't got the same experience as the squad that they ran in the heat. That's what's, I mean, it's a risk. So you bring in a faster man, but you disrupt a tried and proven team.
And that's the balance you have to get in 4x1 relays in particular. You either stick with what you know and therefore potentially capitalise on other people's mistakes to get medals, or you make the changes and throw the kitchen sink at it and hope for the best.
Well, the Americans were watching pretty much the same footage that we saw at exactly the same time. Their faces, a picture of disappointment and frustration. And what we saw from the Chinese quartet, Xu apart, who made the final and ran 9.99, he's cracked the big barrier this year. That's a quartet, not necessarily of the highest calibre, but that's a quartet brilliantly drilled and used to working together. And that has brought them, well, it did bring them in terms of crossing the line of bronze, and it turns out that's brought them a silver medal. You don't necessarily have to be the quickest, you have to be the best well-drilled team to finish on that podium.
You do indeed. Oh, I see there was a little bit of a stumble there, wasn't there, between Asiba Powell and Nickel Ashmead. But Ashmead ran a super bend, as did Tyson Gay. He flew around that top bend.
Well, we know about the Americans. Just watch the Brits just outside of them now. They don't even get close to one another.
Uja's gone way too soon, way too soon.
Not even getting the baton at all. Look.
Nowhere close.
Disaster for them.
Well, James Ellington in the background there. I know him very well. He's not going to take that very well.
No.
He threw the baton in the air. He's going to be absolutely livid, and all the boys, of course, will be disappointed with what's happened there on the final leg. But in contrast, the big man, it just doesn't end. He just carries on, gold after gold, and well done to Jamaica.
It all happened behind him, and once again he finishes Beijing with treble gold, as he did in 2008. 17 global gold medals. Well, smiles and celebrations for the Jamaicans. Another brilliant title for the Jamaicans. China the silver, Canada the bronze, and the United States disqualified.